Hello, hello, and thank you for joining us on Wits and Brains. I'm Casey, and I have the beautiful Miss Catherine Barton. And today we are talking about Chickaboom, Chickaboom. And it's all about loving, working with women. And I am so excited about this subject, especially since March is right around the corner, believe it or not. And it is Women's History Month. So lots and lots of good things about women in
Yes,
conversation.
yes. I actually have a female leadership initiative, like a 30-day program, and it all it talks about are how, according to science, how women are great leaders. So yes, we can work together. We can.
Yes, we can. So talk to me about that because there's like this myth that women don't work together well.
It's a myth. First of all, Casey, there are plenty of women in my 20 years of life that I have not been in love with. Whoop-de-woo. There's a ton of men that I have been in love with. Whoop-de-woo. So I don't think it's just women just don't get along. I do not think that because according to science, women are better leaders than men. So large organizations, you better listen. I have a whole 30-day thing talking about 30 things. According with research and data to support, women are great as leaders. And one of the reasons, I mean, there's 30 reasons, but one of the reasons is they're great at making connections.
Mhm.
Surprise, surprise. Women are
Yeah,
great at making connections.
they are.
And just popped in my head in my program that I have, the very first thing I talk about building relationships. Women are great at it. So why are people saying that women just hate each other? I don't know. They might have heard the Miss Gossip Queen of the Office say something,
Yeah.
you know,
That's
gossipers are loud.
exactly
Yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. You have like that one person that just acts a certain way and gives the rest of us a bad rap.
yes, yes. Some people, and I've heard it, and I've heard people come to me and say, "Oh, women are so emotional." You know what? I don't know. Spend some time with me. I bet you'll cry before I will. I mean,
Why would I not be surprised?
it's not, we're not all weepy women or something. And so, what if someone got emotional sometime? Big deal. Be a human
Yeah,
being, have some emotion. I just don't think it's so bad out there, you know, to what people say. I
yeah,
don't think so. I mean, Harvard Business has this whole research thing supporting about women using their networks at work. And they're so good at it. Like when we have a network, we know how to use those gals and guys
yeah.
to our benefit, to the company benefit, meeting objectives, reaching goals, blah, blah, blah. We're great at it. If Harvard Business says that women are great at using their networks, let's believe it. They're not out there arguing with everybody. It's a myth. It's a
Yeah.
myth.
I was actually reading a study that was saying that one of the key reasons that women work best together is because they're automatically like, since we're, nurturers by nature, we're compelled to empower one another. And in men, it's more of a competitive feeling, like, oh, I'm gonna, beat you in this or whatever. Where men, or excuse me, where women, we want to lift each other up, which makes the workplace actually more enjoyable and more productive.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, I had a group of 325 international, so we're talking about all over the world, businesswomen in one group and never had to correct anybody, hey, play nice.
Mm-hmm.
Never once had to correct it. And it was a group of strong, intelligent, oh my gosh, accomplished women. It was phenomenal, and one of the reasons I started the group was to show that women can get along,
Yeah.
because I had a client, and he was a male, and he was in charge of a group of women, and so he hired me because he was very, he was so good. He hired me, he goes, "I wanna make sure I communicate well." He had the top group in the entire organization, and he was the only one with all women. And he would like brag and brag and brag. And so I asked him, "What's one of the things, maybe you are having difficulty with?" And he said, "There's one thing." And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "When I pay one of my subordinates, female subordinates, a compliment, she doesn't take it."
Interesting.
I said, "No, we cannot do that." So I set up these workshop sessions and I threw all that in there. I mean, he didn't even need a thank you. He just was so pro his group, and he wanted them to be just like that. He wanted them to be like, "Hey, we're better than the rest of you." Like, he wanted them so pumped. And then he
Yeah.
would say, "Hey, Susie Q, thanks for doing the report, blah, blah, blah." And then Susie Q would respond like, "Well, I could have gotten it better," and then he goes, "I don't want that. I want them pumped and going." And he said, "I want them to brag about them like I brag about them." So something that popped in my mind, just say thank you, walk away and go about your day and feel good about your day, ladies. But you can work together.
Yeah. So what are, like, aside from having a gossip queen, what are some other reasons that you think that women might not work well together? Or like, I know with you, you work a lot with organizations and making them more cohesive. So what are some things that you've seen where the women just didn't gel, and why was that?
Ooh, I had I had two women that did not gel because one was mad at the older one was mad at the younger one. I mean, there's no politically correct way to say it. The older one was mad at the younger one because the younger one would say ma'am.
Okay.
But this was a company in the South, and everybody says ma'am once you hit 25. So the younger one did not mean anything, but we did have to talk about it. Hey, she doesn't like it. She didn't like it. So I do think that people hear that myth that all women hate each other, and they hear it so often. I hear it all the time. We're, working with women who get along great will tell me women don't get along great. And I'm like, well, there's six of you here, and I haven't ever heard a dirty word in the bunch. So I think that people hear it and they believe it, and so they repeat it. I
Mhm.
think that one thing bad happens and it makes the whole department go down because they're like,
Yes.
uh-oh, now we don't get along. That's not the case. It's not the
Yeah.
case. Matter of fact, if I had $1 billion sitting in my hand and I had to place it on a bet, if a couple of women could get along or not get along, I would say get along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I mean, the only time that I've ever personally experienced it where women didn't get along, it was more of a personal issue that the person had, whether it was like, insecurities or like ego or just, something where like they just weren't the best person. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it, but
Yeah.
like they had personal things that they had to work on, and that was like bleeding into the relationships that they had at work.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I've always felt more united with women. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm here to support you. So it's really interesting, like when I run into women who have that mentality of like, oh, I have to protect myself, or oh, I have to beat her or whatever, like it's a competition. I'm like, wow.
Right. Right. Someone in their past has told them they have to do that.
Yeah.
So there is, and I have found it in my business or whatever, there is a profession that I have found that it seems like, because we're talking about women working together, it seems like female economists female economists seem to do or get more praise for whatever they're doing if they work alone compared to working in a group.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating, and it's like, I'm not even quite sure what it is, but there is I after experiencing a couple times with that kind of client, I looked it up, and there's actually science that supports that this seems to be one of those gigs that it's best when it's one woman working with herself.
Huh.
So, if anyone watching this has experienced pro, con, whatever, uh, let us know because it's something. Male economists working in groups seems to work out. Female economist seems to get more recognition, maybe,
Yeah.
if she just works alone. So,
Very interesting.
yeah.
I was just thinking, like, you have women who work in like male dominant industries. And like for me, for example, like marketing, people who own marketing agencies are typically male. And
Okay.
when I'm in a room of other, agency owners, there is definitely a different feel.
Mhm.
Um, and I've also noticed that a lot of women who have been in the industry for a long time have that mentality of, oh, they're my competition. Like there is no abundant thinking, like, we can all help each other. Like none of that exists.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed that it's kind of related to age as well. It seems like a lot of people who are older have had that belief carried on with them, and
Yeah.
that's how they believe. But then you have your women who are like, oh, I love working in a male dominant industry, like a mechanic or something. Like, that's very rare, but they feel like in some cases they're respected and their workplace is better because they're able to do the job. It's just, I don't know, random thoughts, but
Yeah.
it's very interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you most of my rooms or conferences have more men in it than women.
Yeah, I
Uh,
bet in larger companies
yeah.
especially. Yeah.
And I will also, it's funny because I will have people assume that the majority of my clients are female, and it's not. It's probably 60-40.
Yeah.
And I don't know the reason for that. It could be when I work with companies that they're engineers and you know there's more men in that field than women,
Hmm.
and so that could be it. I don't know what it is, but um men and women can work great, women and women can work great, men and men can work great, and there can always be a jerk somewhere in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you have that jerk, what do you, and whether it's, well, let's just say the jerk is a female,
Okay.
how do you work with your clients to alleviate the negativity?
Oh man, it can be okay, it can be a group in a big company, it can be a small business owner and they've hired the jerk. It can be the business owner can be a jerk. I like to face it. I never see anything get fixed when people keep ignoring it.
Mhm.
I despise when companies send out the email saying, "Hey, everybody, stop doing A, B, and C," when everybody knows it's just the jerk doing the A, B, and C. Quit telling me
Yeah,
to not do it. So I would rather face it. So, but face it with statistics and data behind you. If someone is doing something wrong, you better have some paperwork to back that up.
right.
Um, so have something to back it up. Say you had to write them up a couple times. Write them
Mhm.
up. Everybody signs. Yes, yes, yes. Do it, do it, do it. No matter what, even if it's small, do it. And then I think bring in a third party to help the situation because
Kind of like a mediator.
everybody's boiling, everybody's ticked off. And then
Yeah,
bringing a third party to sit in that room and talk straightforward.
yeah,
I like the company or the leader to give me their list of expectations for the person. And if I find it's ridiculous, I'll tell them. I will tell the person, here's the expectations. Uh, if they're reasonable and they don't accept them, it may be time to leave.
yeah,
When there's a jerk, sometimes they need to be fired. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes they need to be fired.
yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
So document it, communicate, follow up.
Because and you've actually touched on this before, things need to be, well, legal, right? Um, and you can't just be like, "Hey, I don't like your nose. I need to fire you." You can't act like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I guess you can try it, but, like, it's gonna work.
You want to get somewhere with it. You
Everything
should.
has to be defendable.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but
agree.
make sure you document it. But, a lot of people assume, oh god, that kills business, assumptions. But people need to be told what's expected, and then they need to agree to it. And if they don't do it, I don't think a company has time to play around.
Yeah, I would
I
agree
mean,
with
you
that.
work with women. You guys are hilarious together.
Yeah, we have some fun together. So,
Or
I
maybe
won't
you're just entertaining for me. I don't know, but you guys.
I'm entertaining for myself too. I make myself laugh a lot. So I won't say what event it was, the just in case we have certain listeners.
Okay. Okay.
However, my coworker and I decided because they didn't have any
Uh-oh.
boxes at this event for our food, and we loved the cake that they had. We wrapped it up in a napkin and put it in our coat pocket, and we were walking out, and we have like these big bulges in our coat
It's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it.
pocket. Oh my God, it was such a good cake. Like it was amazing. And it wasn't like your typical like cake with icing. Like it was a really, really good cake. And I won't say what it is because it'll give it away to where
Yeah.
I was. But yeah, I was like, leave it to us to stuff our pockets.
You know, that's the stuff that makes the world go around, though. It's
Oh,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
a blast. Like
Yeah.
there's no ill feelings. Like we can be honest with each other, we can have fun, we can cry, laugh, everything.
Yeah.
We get it, like we're women, we get.
Yeah. So, do you come across, other female marketers and realize they would be a great, like, a referral person? Like, if someone doesn't like you, you'd be willing to say, "Okay, Lulu over here is great. Try her," or something.
So I have met people that I've referred to because their price point is lower. But I have said I haven't worked with them, so I can't vouch for their work.
Mhm.
Um, I don't run across a lot of females that are in the same
Yeah.
space and deliver the same things. However, I did have a shared client with this lady. We were coming in, um, and she was more on like the consulting side where we were doing like most of the work. And she literally, our very first meeting, sat across the table and she said, I want you to know that I'm here because I have to be, but I do not like you. And I
Oh,
was like, okay, then.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it was the most uncomfortable
we
meeting ever.
we got that out of the way. So
Yeah. Yeah. It was tough, but
yeah.
yeah. So, but I
So,
don't run into that typically.
yeah.
And you know what? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like in your area, there's a lady that just spoke at your Women's Business Network group,
Mhm.
Debbie Neely, I believe.
Yep.
I'd refer her left and right, and we do have similar worlds.
Uh-huh.
And like that kind of thing, I'm okay with that kind of thing. I feel like there's plenty of work out there.
Yeah.
But there are people that I referred her to someone because I felt like they needed a little bit of more gentle hand than what I have inside of me. And so I had said, "Hey, I know a lady that's really good." you
I
know, you
remember you talking about that. That
know.
yeah, that she's definitely gentle.
Yeah. I mean, because you guys have, quality speakers at your events, and it's like, yeah, when I saw she was doing it, I actually found her on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I wish I was in town. I'd come, support you or whatever." So,
Yeah. Well, speaking of support, our next episode is Hip Hip Hooray, and it's all about being your own cheerleader. So join us next week. We'll be talking about how to cheer yourself on, and who knows, Catherine might do an actual like cheer and dance or something for us. So
let's do it.